Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Central Florida Sportscast. My name is Adam, and I am here, as always, with Eduardo and Danny. Guys, how are we doing tonight?
What up?
Yo, we're living the dream here. In the O.
In the O. Staying in the O, living in the O. And a lot of exciting things.
The O.
Yeah.
No, ignore me. Keep going.
No, we're good. We're good here in the O. So a lot of exciting things happening around Central Florida in regards to some player acquisitions. We're kind of on the come up here in a few sports. Got a few surprises for you. It's going to be another exciting episode here at the Central Florida Sportscast. And we're going to start it off here with arguably Orlando's most successful sport, which is soccer. Orlando is a soccer town. And we're going to start it with your NWSL championship winning team, the Orlando Pride, and the GOAT, the greatest female soccer player of all time, Marta. She's back. 2-year deal signed for Marta. She's going to be with the Orlando Pride through the 2026 season. Guys, how are we feeling about this? How does it feel to have the Michael Jordan of women's soccer just sticking around Orlando for another 2 years, just continuing to dominate?
Love it.
It's sick. Did you guys watch the reveal of this? They framed it. The beginning looked like a retirement video, and then she was like, "I'm not fucking leaving." The Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's great to have her. I think,
we should have her on the show.
If we could. You guys speak Portuguese?
I can learn.
She's Brazilian, or she's
all right, Danny, your homework. Before next week, I need you to become conversational in Portuguese
I'm sure
for
we can
us.
get her on in a week.
Yeah. That's the part that's unrealistic, is getting Marta on. It's not the learning the Portuguese. We have that in the back. Mm-hmm. But some things that I just think is really interesting about Marta, when you look at, she is entering, I was told never to talk about a lady's age. I'm sorry, mama. But she's entering her age 38 season. And obviously she's dominated around the world. She's, been one of the most dominant players in all of soccer. And when we look at her last season, I just want to throw some numbers out at you guys. So these are the percentile of her compared to every other player in the league. Obviously expected goals, she's in the 80th percentile. She's in the 75th percentile in shots. She is in the 99th percentile of shot creation, the 99th percentile of attempted passes. So, she's willing to pass the ball, which is really good because she's really good at it. She's in the 87th percentile in pass completion percentage, the 99th percentile in aggressive passes, 95% successful take-on rate, meaning if you get one-on-one with Marta, she's going to beat you. She's going to beat you. She's going to drive. She's in the 85th percentile in tackles and the 98th percentile in interceptions. So,
Jesus.
How what do you do about that?
She's a robot, dude.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do? I remember going to Marta's first game in Orlando. I remember them announcing her and the excitement in the stadium. It was a sold out Inter & Co stadium. It was massive. I mean, it was such an event. Something that I would like to see Inter & Co stadium be filled up for again. Obviously, with us having some hardware this year, I think gone are the days where, you watch the games on CBS Sports Network and it's a quarter full in the stadium. I think, we have the greatest women's football player of all time playing in the city of Orlando. And I think it would be a disservice not to go out and to see greatness. I mean, all the time. How many times, when we were living in the dark days of the Magic and some dark times in Orlando City, did we say, oh man, I just wish we had, a player like X's caliber here in the city. And we have that. So I think people need to put up whatever transgression they have about watching women's sports, because that transgression is stupid. And if you have that transgression, I think you're stupid. And just watch the damn sport and go see greatness.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also say championships are the thing that kind of can really change a franchise. Like just one championship. Think about there was a Milwaukee Bucks game the other night here in Orlando, and the amount of Milwaukee fans in arena for that Milwaukee Bucks game was insane. And I guarantee you, previous to the Bucks winning a championship, there were not that many Milwaukee Bucks fans just out, in the wilds. I think the same thing's going to happen for the Pride after they won the championship this year. I think now people are like, oh, this is a championship team? Oh, I want to go see that. And I think people are going to go out and they're going to support now.
Yeah, I agree. I already have my Giannis Antetokounmpo Orlando Pride jersey. I'm shocked they allowed me to put it custom on the back, but Hey,
you pay by the
what's his brother's name?
Thanasis?
That's actually, I'm sorry, it's a Thanasis jersey.
Oh, okay, yeah. I can see why people would be confused.
Yeah, I thought they were moving their headquarters to Cape Canaveral, right? Thanasis. But
I just had a big sip of water.
Yeah. But in addition to the Orlando Pride, we have some things going on for Orlando City as well. Mason Studahar is the longest tenured player on the Orlando City roster, which if you put a gun to my head, I would probably call the cops. And then if you asked me who the longest tenured player on Orlando City was, I don't think I would have pulled Mason out, which is shocking. I mean, I know he's been here a while. He's been a serviceable backup goalkeeper, but he is headed out west to the land of Swig Soda and reality TV, playing for Real Salt Lake out in Utah. So that is a $200,000 general allocation money transfer, $50,000 of that being available for this next season, which is going to be extremely valuable as we're trying to fill out our roster. Training camp just started. So Oscar Pereja, Luis Muzi, they're kind of getting a feel for the roster that they have and what pieces are missing. Which is, it's great that they're trying to fill in some roster slots and bring in some new blood into the program. But there is a big fish out there that's not named Messi that has been tied to several MLS clubs. And Orlando is apparently in on the action, and that is for Neymar. So
what?
Yes. He is currently playing in Saudi Arabia for Al Hilal. And he is tied to the Chicago Fire are interested in him and two other mystery teams. And my sources tell me that one of the teams is Orlando. I believe the other team is Philadelphia, but it also wouldn't surprise me if San Diego was in on it. And these are coming from sources through various networks of MLS content creators and kind of my ties to soccer. But I hear that Orlando is in on Neymar, which would be a massive get, and kind of a rejuvenating get for Orlando, because if you can recall, in the early days of MLS, in fact, our first season, there was another Brazilian that was a household name that we brought in, Kaká, to kind of kick things off and fill up that stadium. So, I mean, I think Neymar would be a massive get. I don't think he's as of quality as Messi is currently. I think Messi's game, the pace of play in which he plays and the technicality kind of evolves more with age a little bit better than Neymar. I mean, Neymar is 32. It's not like he's an ancient footballer, but I think that Neymar has maybe lost a step or two. But would still be really fun to see him in purple and gold. So, guys, what do you think about, in addition to having one of the greatest female footballers of all time in Orlando, if Neymar, star of, what action movie was he in? He was in the beginning of one action movie. I'll have to look it up. Joined Orlando City.
Look, a star like Neymar, even if he has lost a step or two, in the MLS is still a gigantic star, and he could still do a ton of damage. what is Orlando's biggest problem when it comes to the attack? One, the fact that they don't attack enough, which is a whole separate problem.
Mm-hmm.
But two, it's mostly, in my opinion, and this is me as a somebody who is just now really starting to dive into the deeper minutia of football and like what everything means, but it feels like we can set the set piece, but we never can actually finish and score the goal.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we get the set piece constantly. We are constantly getting down the right and left side. We are constantly getting the cross in, and we can never actually get the ball into the net after that point. Is that not what like Neymar would be perfect for?
Mm-hmm. He would fit great. I think you have to, one of the things you have to think of is, where he fits on the roster. Obviously, he's going to command an incredible salary. He is definitely going to be a DP slot player.
Yeah, give us a fucking Messi deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
MLS, give us a Messi deal. Give him whatever he wants so that he can come and like bring up the name. Like, let him break the rules, just like you did for Messi.
Mm-hmm. So, I think having a star player like that would do incredible things. I think it would do great things for the rivalry. I mean, imagine Orlando-Miami games, Neymar versus Messi. We're not playing those.
Those would be marquee matchups for the MLS. They would put those on every, like...
That would be an ESPN game.
That would be like a Celtics-Lakers matchup. That is a, like...
Yeah, those games aren't being played at Inter & Co. and the whatever high school football stadium with fake bleachers that Miami plays in currently. Those would be being played at Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins play and Camping World Stadium.
Yeah.
So, I think it would be fantastic. I think Chicago is probably going to end up making that move. Chicago has long been looking for a star to kind of bring the city of Chicago to the fire and have really failed. Their attendance has been extremely poor. So it makes sense to me that, Chicago wants to do that, especially while they're kind of contemplating and pushing for a new stadium. And also Neymar, the movie I was thinking of, is he starred as himself in the XXX Return of Xander Cage film.
Oh,
hell yeah.
From
Hell
2017.
yeah.
How'd you guys forget? This
I
is
love that movie.
We're going to get roasted by Xander Cage cast.
I was not aware of the Neymar talks. I was aware of a striker that Orlando was eyeing that have been, like, there's a podcast that was talking about how Orlando is eyeing another striker.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not familiar. He plays for Portland. His name is Evander. And it sounds like Orlando has started, from what this one, Orlando's interest in Evander is real, according to Tom Bogert.
Okay, Tom Bogert's a really good source. And in fact, like, he's the source.
Yeah.
So, like, for all of you that are, like, digging into, like, MLS or, like, soccer, for, like, American soccer, Tom Bogert is, like, he's, like, it's a Woj bomb. Like, when Bogert drops knowledge, he has the knowledge, like. So I think that's probably extremely accurate. I think Orlando City's probably in on this guy. I'm looking up the Timbers roster right now. Senio Evander, he's a designated player. Where was he at before this? He's Brazilian.
He was in the Danish Superliga before.
And he was named to the best 11 for the entire league. So interesting that Portland would be willing to give him up, but it sounds like he's exactly the kind of player Orlando City would need.
Yeah, it sounds like he doesn't want to be in Portland anymore, from what this report is saying, that he, like,
I think
kind of
culture
doesn't really want to play for them.
I think culture fit is a lot in MLS, and especially, I mean, obviously I can't speak for Brazilian players in the league. I have no expertise into Brazilian culture. But I just common sense and thinking about it, I would imagine all of you Brazilian soccer players listening, correct me if I'm wrong. But like the culture fit in Orlando probably feels a little more natural than Portland. I'm not aware of Portland having a really big Brazilian population. Whereas in Orlando, I think it's a pretty natural fit.
Well, you get. I would also like add the like. If you go into Europe and you play, say you go to another country, right? Mm-hmm. You say you are a Brazilian player, and you go and you play in the Danish Super League, right? In that area, people are going to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to support you. They're going to be like, I love you, because that is like the main draw, the main attraction in that town. In Portland, I'm sure there are Portland Timbers fans out there, and Portland doesn't have...
massive.
You've got,
the Timbers have a massive fan base.
Right. I mean, you've got the Blazers there and stuff, but I wouldn't necessarily think of him as probably like a household name in Portland, right? He's going to have fans. They're going to be Timbers fans. However, it's not going to be as synonymous as it would be if he went to like South America or Europe. So having a place that doesn't have as much of a community, and then also not having like the kind of like fan and culture support that you would normally get from a club from not the United States is probably difficult.
Yeah. And the climate, I mean, growing up in Brazil, the climate is probably much more similar to Florida and what you're used to than the Pacific Northwest. So feels a little bit more like home. You can go into restaurants and people are speaking Portuguese. Danny is here to converse with you in a week when he learns Portuguese. So, interesting. I think it would be a great fit. I would love to see him in Orlando.
Interesting. Also, tidbit of this interview is that when he's talking about Evander, they're talking about how there's real interest there, that Orlando, it seems like Orlando wants him, but he also went on to say that he would not be the Facundo Torres replacement.
So I think Cesar Arujo kind of fills in like that defensive mid role a little more. So I think this player plays like a true number 10. So I think he's going to be a little more up top, kind of facilitating a little bit more, kind of getting that ball out into the wings, to like really like facilitate Duncan McGuire getting the ball in the box.
So he's definitely, there's a chance Orlando could really change the way the team looks next year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you add someone like Evander. If you're adding Evander, you're probably saying we're gonna take whatever deal that people are because it feels like there's like a bidding war right now for Araujo, and there's already been an offer for him, and I think the offer was declined. But like my guess is there's gonna be a counter, and like they're gonna continue to have talks. And I'm sure right now City is just like juggling so many different possibilities of like what they want, and I'm sure like. Especially if like Neymar is a possibility, they're probably 100% focused on that effort because how can you focus on literally anything else until you know for a fact that you're not going to get someone of the quality of Neymar? You do whatever you can to try to bring him aboard.
Yeah. So I think the player most comparable, if I was Nicolas Ladero, he is the one that. I think this player from Portland would most likely take their job, which, watching the quality over the last season, I can't say I would be upset by that.
Sure.
But yeah, no, big things happening. Obviously, the season starts up. We have our first preseason match in 10 days.
That's insane. It feels like the season just ended.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about making it to the conference finals.
Yeah.
Is you never really have a break.
Yep.
So it's going to be a great season here in Orlando. I know that we're going to try and get out to some games. Hopefully,
yeah. Have Danny come out to the wall.
Have Danny come to the wall.
I'm scaling the wall.
Hey, Orlando City press passes. Maybe get on the field. Maybe interview. Who knows what could happen?
Interview,
Marta.
Wait, when you get your Portuguese down, yeah.
I mean, I'll be like fluent by then.
Yeah. You have 10 days.
Like basically, I've been immersed in the culture.
Yeah. What's that? What's those VHSs? Was it Muzzy?
Muzzy, yeah.
Yeah. We're just gonna send Danny the Portuguese Muzzy. So yeah, in addition to Orlando City, all of the fun stuff happening on the pitch, on the ice, the Orlando Solar Bears look like they have finally turned their season around. They have won 6 games in a row, and they are on an absolute tear. It's just great. I've been kind of pinging around in the Orlando Solar Bears season ticket member group, kind of getting people's thoughts about the team. They're talking about the cohesion being a little bit better, the team feeling a little grittier, that they're able to kind of dig wins out of games that they usually would just kind of keel over in. So really big props to the Solar Bears. They're still fighting for a playoff spot. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played, but it kind of looks like they are bouncing back, which is great.
Good.
Now over to a little bit east of Orlando in Oviedo. Danny, what has UCF been up to lately?
So UCF basketball has they've taken on the state of Arizona since our last episode, and they did lose to Arizona but beat Arizona State. So they currently are 3-2 in conference, which is about middle of the pack, but in good position to, as we've been saying all along, you don't have to finish at the top, just be in the top half-ish, which they're doing. With these games, they are up to now 70 as of all games played through January 14th. They're now up to 70 in the net rankings, which is, that's pretty, that is bubble talk right there. So some more impressive wins down the line. They have a chance coming up. Next two games are, the next game is against Iowa State, which they are, actually, nope. No, it is. Yep, sorry. It is against Iowa State. Nope, I was wrong. I'm reading this thing wrong. Houston and then Iowa State. So number 10, Houston. Number 2, Iowa State. So tough games for sure. But the Houston game is at home, and then they'll be going out to Iowa State on Tuesday the 21st.
I did see, Danny, 3 of the next 4 games for UCF are top 10 matchups.
Correct. So after Iowa State, it's TCU, who is unranked as of now. I think they are not very good this year.
Yeah, TCU's 74th in the net ranking currently.
Oh, okay. So they're okay. No, they are 9-6. They're 2-2 in conference right now. So no easy games in the Big 12. But yeah, they play TCU on the 25th, and then a chance for revenge on Tuesday, January 28th. They play at Kansas. That would be huge if they could pull off an upset there. I'm sure that they they want to have a better showing than last time around. So fingers crossed they can do something there. But yeah, definitely this next stretch of games is a huge opportunity to make a statement. Even just pulling off, just a win over number 10 Houston in the next game would be huge. And then a decent showing at Iowa State. It's tough to win on the road, especially against a top 2 team. But just having a good showing out there would do a lot.
Yeah, I think honestly a 2-2 showing over the next 4 games, you knock off one top 10 team and take care of business against TCU. I think that should move them up in the net ranking a few spots.
Yeah, for sure. The fun thing with the net rankings is that the numbers are always adjusting. So we've talked about this in the past, the quad wins and losses. So ultimately, at the end of the season, you'll have your final tally of quad 1 wins and losses just based on the final rankings. So some of these losses or wins and losses may end up looking better depending on how the season plays out for the rest of the teams. So something that we're always keeping an eye on, like to keep track of these things. But yeah, they're trending up. They were 78 I guess just 2 days ago, because that is updated every day. So yeah, keep climbing up in those net rankings, and they will should make the tourney.
Yeah, go dancing. Hey, Eduardo, I'm gonna play a quick game with you real fast. I'm gonna name a team, and I want you to tell me if they are higher or lower than UCF in the net ranking.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right, North Carolina.
I'm gonna say higher.
That is correct. They are higher. They are 37th.
Okay.
We're going to go with Memphis.
Memphis with they're got to be higher.
Yeah, Penny Hardaway's team.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. They're having a great season.
They're higher. They're 35th.
Yeah.
VCU. That is Virginia Commonwealth University out of Richmond.
I'm going to say lower.
They are higher.
Okay.
Florida State.
Ooh. Higher?
Florida State is lower than UCF in the net rankings. They are 73rd. And my last one for one particular listener of this program, Washington State.
Lower.
They are lower than UCF in the net rankings. They are 76th. We're singling out one fan now.
Let's throw a bone. Where's Washington?
Washington,
96.
They are 96. The Washington State is higher than Washington.
And that's what really matters.
That is, that at the end of the day, that's what gets people to sleep at night.
Wow, Virginia's 137.
Yeah,
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, net rankings are
that
biased against teams that only have 7 possessions a game.
I know obviously they had the coaching change right before the season, but just a few years ago they won it all.
Yep.
Things move fast. Oh, Miami is
Things
211.
Things move fast, unlike the University of Virginia offense.
Okay. Let me shift over to football. There was a big, there's a defensive commit a few days ago. UCF landed Cole Kozlowski from Colgate. He was the number 2 in tackles in the FCS last season, and he could be a pretty good presence there. I was reading this article from UCFsports.com, which is the Rivals affiliate, or UCF affiliate with Rivals, and they have they had an interview with this kid, and there's some pretty funny quotes. He's just talking. I mean, he's a college student. He's young, but he was saying how he liked that UCF was close to the airport. I don't know. That seems kind of funny that would be a priority. But he is from New Jersey, so I'm sure makes it easier for family to come down to games and stuff like that. But it's kind of funny that was something. It's like, yes. Proximity to airport, that is an A+ interest.
Yeah, A+. Sway.
But yeah, he like I said, he was number 2 in the FCS in tackles, so he's all over the field making plays. He said that he felt connected to Scott Frost, and he said that something that Frost said to him was that he was watching all this film of the linebackers looking for portal targets, and he's like, that Colgate kid keeps jumping out at me. So he feels like that's so cool that he was like, he wants me, and like he's the first, I'm the first linebacker that he's offering. So it'd be really cool if he comes in and can make an impact. And the name Cole Kozlowski, that just sounds like a linebacker, like an old school. Like
he needs to wear like
hard-nosed.
a neck roll. Like he needs to have like the high pads and the neck roll.
Oh yeah.
And I think the interesting thing is UCF wasn't his only target in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
It looked like Purdue was also really heavily interested in him.
Yeah, that was his top 2 was Purdue and UCF.
Suck it, Purdue.
Take that, Boilermakers. But yeah, it's good. You keep acquiring that talent. I think the portal's interesting because you can have like 2 different approaches. Well, okay, I'm sure there's way more than 2, but you have, names from big programs that maybe weren't getting playing time, and then you have stars from smaller programs that, have a lot of experience, and we're still, only like a few years really into the portal era. But I feel like other than, like huge names it might be that the most production comes from those guys who have been playing and are now kind of like moving up to another program where they can really shine versus like somebody who's been riding the bench. They may have had the stars and that branding of like, oh, this guy was, he was at Bama, but he couldn't really crack the starting lineup, and now he goes somewhere and he's like, oh, it's not really panning out all that well. Versus, these kids from smaller schools that ball out, they go up to a bigger program, they just keep it rolling. So I think this might be a project for somebody with a lot more initiative than me, but kind of tracking portal players, where they come from, and see their production at the previous school versus at the new school. I'd be really interested in looking at that stuff. It might already be done, but as we progress, more and more data to fill that out.
We got to find out where they came from. Where did they go? Where did they come from?
Cotton, Colgate, Colgate guy Cole.
Yeah, Colgate guy Cole.
Yeah. So as we said last week, pretty good portal class getting assembled here, and this is he only committed 2 days ago, so even since then they've been adding players. But classes are starting, or have already started at this point. So it's probably there's still there's I guess 2 teams left still playing, so there potentially could be players coming from those 2 schools. I think they still have there's like a rolling window based on your last game. So who knows? There could be somebody in Notre Dame or Ohio State that ends up at UCF. I'm not suggesting that it's going to happen. I have no inside knowledge there, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith. Our bag money people will be in touch.
He would be worth every dollar.
Yes, he would. But before we move on, I kind of, we are a sports podcast. There is a big sports thing happening called the College Football Playoff Championship game between Notre Dame and Ohio State. I just want your guys' picks.
I sadly do think Ohio State's going to win. I would prefer Notre Dame to win, which is weird to say.
No Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate Notre Dame like some people do. They're kind of annoying sometimes, but I mean, a lot of people have been saying that they're like, oh, why are they actually kind of likable now?
Yeah, there's
it might just be because they're up against Ohio State, but
yeah. Yeah, their coach is fantastic too.
You guys know I am not like a college football. Like, it's probably the thing that I know the least about. But I just get bad vibes from Ohio State. Something about Ohio State has always just given me just like, nah, like I don't mess with them. So yeah, I'm going Notre Dame.
Okay, I respect it. So I guess I will be the tiebreaker, and I'm taking Ohio State. I would prefer Notre Dame to win. I also am not a big Ohio State Buckeyes guy, and I really like this Notre Dame team. They're super likable. They kind of, outside of their like Northern Illinois loss, they've just kind of, they don't dominate teams. They just kind of like, whoops, we won again. Isn't that so funny? And they keep doing that over and over and over again.
Here I go, winning again.
Oh, man, I just won another football game. That's crazy. And then, like, everyone was talking about, like, they don't play anyone. They don't, and, an argument can be made for their strength of schedule. And then they go up against Georgia without their starting quarterback, and they're just like, whoops, I won. Isn't this so fun? I just beat the SEC champion. Keep on going. And it's like, oh, God. So, like, they haven't proven, like, the haters are right. They are right. Everything the haters say, accurate. But you know what? It doesn't matter. They keep winning, so.
Yeah, the only thing that matters at the end.
Yep. I do think Ohio State's going to win by 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
14. Wow.
I do not trust Riley Leonard. I think Ohio State has a really good linebacking core. I think they're going to throw a middle linebacker as a spy, keep him in the pocket, and force Riley Leonard to throw the ball to beat you. And I don't think Riley Leonard is him. And I think Ohio State's wide receiver core is just going to absolutely torch. I think Jeremiah Smith is going to have a day.
Yeah, he's great. I was very very sad that Florida couldn't get him at the end of his recruitment last offseason.
Yeah.
And I was right to be.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. But yeah, no, that kind of covers it in college sports. And moving westward towards downtown Orlando, we have playing with the Orlando Solar Bears in the Kia Center, your Orlando Magic, Eduardo. How are the Magic doing?
You know, they
not currently, because I've been watching the game right now.
Let's not talk about currently, because right now they're getting shellacked by the Bucks. But in a general sense, they've lost a game and they've won a game. Now, in both of those games, gentlemen, Paolo Banchero played basketball, and in that first game against the Bucks, Paolo Banchero came back and in 27 minutes had 34 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists on 11 of 21 shooting and 5 of 8 from 3. He had an incredible first game back, so much so that 34 points is tied for the most amount of points a player has had after coming back from being out of commission for over 30 days. It was actually tied with Paul George, who he played on the next game. The Magic beat the 76ers, so they lost to the Bucks, and then they beat the 76ers. Now, the game and like Orlando Magic basketball looks almost completely different when Paolo Banchero is on the court. He attracts so much attention from the opposing teams that it feels like the guys kind of don't know what to do with the space that they suddenly have. They're like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do now. So we're in a really, really great spot in there. However, the injury and illness bug continues to kick the Orlando Magic's ass. After finally getting back Paolo Banchero, they lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to some knee soreness. They lost Tristan da Silva to an illness. They lost Goga Batadze to what was a hip contusion and is now a concussion during the game against.
That tends to happen.
Yeah, right. Just the very common hip contusion concussion combo, and Orlando just needs to get healthy. I mean, it's a really frustrating season because Orlando has been still winning games, and they've still been, hanging on, and they've still been kind of willing themselves to stay in fourth in the East, kind of by the power of friendship. However, at some point, that magic fuel, that adrenaline, is going to kind of run out. And we kind of already saw that a couple of the games before Paolo came back. You kind of saw the guys had started to really run out of gas. They kind of weren't playing with that same energy because we're in the middle of the season now. We're in January, where the season has kind of started to get kind of long in the tooth, and games are already feeling really long, and you've been playing for a really long time, and these guys have been playing for a really long time and also have been busting their ass for a whole season. What do you guys think about kind of where Orlando is right now, and how do they get over the fact that they just for some reason cannot get healthy?
I mean, you can't really get over it. It's just, it sucks that it's happening. It's an unfortunate part of just sports is you can always look back at a game or a season but if only so-and-so didn't get hurt. And then unfortunately it's if only the whole team didn't get hurt for the Magic. But it's not a lost season at this point, where, like you said, it feels like it's been dragging on, I think, just because of everything that's been going on. It's just every few days, here's some more bad news. I think at this point you just kind of hope that the team can be as healthy as possible for the playoff push.
Yeah.
And see how it goes. And, you know, like I said, sometimes you just got to grin and bear it. And if it doesn't happen, if you get some more injuries that rack up in the playoffs, as long as they, you know, are not, you know, severe career ending or long term, then, you know, regroup next year, maybe get better training staff. I don't know.
It's tough because they actually, believe it or not, Danny, so Orlando had a lot of health issues maybe like 3 or 4 years ago before kind of the big shift to the team that we have now. And they actually had a ton of issues, so they got rid of their entire training staff, and this is now the second training staff that kind of got replaced. And the team seems to really like these guys. And I don't know, it feels like some of these are kind of freak. Like, how are you going to explain like 2 torn obliques in a row? Like, what are the odds? I will say there is like a sliver of positivity right now. So Franz Wagner, his injury designation was recently changed like a day ago. It's no longer out with right oblique tear. It is return to competition conditioning. So it sounds like he is fully healed from whatever the issue was with his oblique, and now he's just getting back into game shape, because as we kind of saw with Paolo, especially those first 5 minutes he played on the first game back, he looked gassed. And that's going to happen when you don't play professional basketball for however long. He was out for 2 months, almost 3.
Yeah, conditioning is one thing, but actual game speed is different. Go ahead.
Oh no, I think
you're gonna have much of substance to add.
No, I think the thing that kills me about this is this was the year that the Orlando Magic were going to establish who on the roles on the roster, and who was going to stick around as like that sixth man, that role player. You know, kind of how everybody fit in around Franz and Paolo. And it's really hard to pass any kind of like really good discernible judgment about players when you're asking them to do things that you're not going to be asking them to do on a regular basis. Obviously, we've had players step up. Jalen Suggs had an incredible streak, but that's not who we need Jalen Suggs to be offensively. We need Jalen Suggs to facilitate. We need him to play really good defense, kind of give you a spark of energy, but we don't need him to be our primary scorer. So it's really difficult to say like, oh, Jalen Suggs, you know, is this kind of player, because that's not who we need him to be. Same with Anthony Black. I think we've asked Anthony Black to do a whole lot. And I think in his role, I think I would say that he is playing really well. In the role that we're asking him to play, I don't think he's been performing that well. And I think that has a lot to do with players feel the pressure of having to step up and get that bucket, because they don't have the guys behind them that they know, okay, listen, I'm having an off night. You know, my shot's not falling. Let me dish it out over to Paolo. I know he's going to create a shot for himself. Let me dish it to Franz. He's going to Euro step to the basket. So I think part of the problem is it's really hard to make any kind of roster judgments, because we're asking players to be the players. We're asking them not to play the game that we want them to play.
It also feels like I don't think this is on Coach Mosley. I think this is on like whoever the offensive coordinator that they have right now is. Orlando's been stuck in this kind of spot for a little while now, and even with Paolo and Franz back, they have to figure this out. They currently are a one-action team. What I mean by that is they have one play. They'll come up and they will do whatever the play that was like drawn up. And then if that play breaks down, if a defender shifts too quickly and they're able to get in front and that kind of play breaks down, they tend to be like, we don't know what to do anymore, because like you foiled our plan. They're like poo, you know. They like, or no, like
beans.
like their plan is done, and they just kind of like throw it to somebody and then like hope that an ISO kind of works out. And it feels like Orlando, especially at this point, like I think honestly it was by design for a little while. Like, hey, let's keep it really simple for these young players so they can get comfortable, establish these things early, and then we will up the complexity as they kind of mature and get older. I think they're at a time where they need to start upping that complexity. They need to start having a little bit more complexity in their plays and things that they're doing. all of this that I'm saying, though, doesn't really matter because none of these things are going to happen. Like Adam said about like getting the team, figuring out who's going to be around, about adding complexity into their plays. None of this is going to happen until guys get back from injury. You cannot do this without your main players. And right now, Orlando is missing 3 starters. KCP is back in the lineup now, but no team in the NBA can miss 3 starters for as long as Orlando has had 3 starters out at least and still like stay afloat. You just can't do it. You can't. You cannot survive in a stars league without like your stars. You know, Paolo is doing everything he can, but, you know, he needs his running mates out there, and right now they're not out there. They're not, the guys that you want to be out there to get you a bucket aren't out there alongside him. So, he's also feeling kind of the pressure. Now, for everything that's happened so far this season, though, and for how much the team has kind of succeeded and kind of broken through adversity, we got to start banging some kind of drum somewhere. We got to start shouting from some mountain that Jamal Mosley needs to be in the very top of the conversation for Coach of the Year. I understand that the Cavaliers are having a wonderful season. I understand that they are, winning a ton of games. But at what point do we go, all right, well, what does the coach have to do to that? And what does Evan Mobley suddenly becoming a 3-point specialist and Darius Garland returning form and Donovan Mitchell being lights out? At what point do those become the real reasons those things are happening and not necessarily coaching? It has felt like over the past few years, coaching has turned into the who wins more games award and not necessarily who has done the best coaching job award. And it feels like if you're going to ask me what coach has been able to do the most and has coached the best this season, Jamal Mosley should be at the top.
I agree completely. I think Kenny Atkinson is having a great season. The Cavaliers are having a great season. But it's not as hard to coach a finished product. And what the Cavaliers have right now is a finished product. They have their pieces. They're winning ball games. And I think that has a lot more to do with the players than it does the coach. And when you look at what Coach Mosley is doing is he's taking this island of misfit toys. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you're losing your star pieces, and he's taking these players and coaching them up into roles that they are not used to playing and sending them out there, and they're competing in NBA games. And I think that if it was, a larger market that was doing this, I know I'm a big griper on market size in the NBA and how the NBA looks at different markets and different teams and how they place different judgment values on these teams. But imagine if Brunson and Cat went down and the Knicks went on this tear with these, with the rest of their roster. The NBA would be eating it up about how, this is the deepest team in the league, and this is unreal, and I can't believe Coach of the Year candidate, and you have this going on in Orlando. Granted, they're staying afloat. They're not thriving. We're surviving at the moment, but we are surviving, and that's without Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner for extended period, and Mo Wagner for extended periods of time.
Yeah, I think once Paolo went down, I think just the team's performance for that stretch before Franz went down, and even a little bit after that, it's just really impressive, and that's on the whole team. And who's leading the team? It's the coach, and obviously what he's preaching, whatever he's saying to the guys in the locker room, the systems, everything was working. And you can only overcome so much injury adversity. But I mean, they've been having a fine season considering the circumstances. And I think you're right. He definitely is being, I think, overshadowed by the Coach of the Best Team award versus Best Coach award.
Guys, I want to take a second to talk about not these teams, but still keep it in the sports realm. So, I maybe have a hot take, and I want you guys to say what you like your opinion on this. Is what was previously known as FIFA and is now known as FC actually the best sports game that's ever existed? And by that I mean like the most fun to play, because I have been playing FC 24 and then some FC 25, and it is so much fun.
Have you gone into the Volta football mode yet?
I don't know what that is. Please explain it to me.
Oh boy. Do you remember NBA Street?
You're damn right I do.
Volta football is soccer street.
Hell yeah.
So it's 3-on-3 or 5-on-5. You play on the street. You can, it's a little less tricks. You can still do tricks, but you can pass the ball off the wall. You can volley it off the wall. You can, depending on the stadium, there's a little, like, it's a lot looser on fouls. Some modes, there's no goalie. It's just a really small net. So you're playing like the backdrop's like this, like favela in like Rio de Janeiro, and like you're playing street soccer like the kids in Brazil would be playing. It's so much fun. It's high energy. It's fast paced. It's honestly online. That's how I play FIFA. I have played FIFA. Used to play it semi-competitively, but been playing FIFA since like 2011, like regularly. And when they introduced Volta Football, it completely changed the way that I play the game, because I can pick it up and play it for like 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I can jump in, jump out, and it's so good. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, Danny. You should give it a try. I don't know if you have before.
Yeah, so I was going to say, my friend and I, back in the, you said 2008, was that the South Africa World Cup?
2006, I believe.
2006,
or no, is it 2010? Let me look it up real quick.
2010. Yeah, whatever the South Africa World Cup was, there was a World Cup video game.
That was a great game.
I never actually bought the game. I had the demo on Xbox 360, and over the summer, he and I would just we would play this, I guess, I don't remember. It must have been Italy and whoever they beat in the previous World Cup were probably the two teams available in the demo.
I think it was Italy and France.
Yeah. We just would play that. It was a lot of fun. I've played FIFA, EAFC a few times over the years, so I never really have gotten into it to that level again. But it is fun. I think it's I always enjoy playing soccer video games.
It just seems so. What I liked about it, and we played college football 25 this past year, and what I found kind of impenetrable about that game is that there was so much that you needed to know just to kind of get started, just to even understand what is happening in a game. What is I couldn't understand the plays and the call, and there was just so much that I needed to do before I could play the game and have fun playing the game. Whereas I booted up FC and they immediately plug you in a match, and I was scoring goals and I was having fun, and then I was little by little starting to kind of understand and learn how to kind of set things up so that you can score a goal, and they have pretty decent tutorials in there that kind of add things on little by little, layer by layer, so you can kind of learn a little bit more and more, and it feels less daunting. It feels the concept of it all just seems so much less. It's you kick the ball around and then you want to get into the goal, and it's just much more simple.
Yeah, I think the core concept of the game is just a lot easier, less barrier of entry.
Eduardo, sure. I'm going to present to you the most fun way to play FIFA or FC 24.
Okay, hit me.
Here's what you want to do.
Let's go.
I think they allow you to create a custom team now. So create a custom team, make them the lowest rated team that you can possibly make them, half a star, and I want you to put them in League 2. in England.
Okay.
So you have League Two, League One,
yeah.
the Championship, and then the Premier League. And fight and claw your way up the pyramid to make it to the Premier League. And it is poetry. It really is. I always set the game one difficulty higher than I'm used to playing, so the games are actually difficult. And it really feels like a grind. Like, there are times where it's like, you're like, oh, I really need this 18-year-old from Brazil to hit, and if he doesn't hit and score goals, we're gonna get relegated, and it's gonna be awful. And like, it's so much fun, and it's like all of the sport game. Kind of a backstory. There's a game called Football Manager that I play, and it's like FIFA in FC if you take away the playing of the game and all you are doing is setting the tactics and the lineup and signing players. So you are the manager, and you say, like, I want a hot dog to cost £3, and like it's all of the boring stuff of like running this football club. And you get a little bit of that in the FC when you play like the Dynasty mode. And those like RPG elements are always my favorite parts of sports games.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up and ask you if you played it when you were going on your seminar about the contract.
The MLS contract.
Machinations of the MLS.
And it's so.
But then you had to go fight the Grinch or whatever.
Yeah, it's so funny because Football Manager doesn't get it right. Like, they have a modified, simplified version because like the program.
They're like, oh, it's MLS.
Yeah, they're like, first of all, no one's going to play as an MLS team. They're wrong. I do. Second of all, they're like, who? I don't want to have to hire 4 more programmers to program all this code in here. Like, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, Football Manager, highly recommend if you can get it at Eduardo for cheap.
Yeah.
It's another really cool way to like learn some like tactics of the game.
Yeah, I'm trying to like brush up. I don't know if you guys know this, and I mentioned it on the last episode, but I'm going to London next month. Hey, did you guys know that? Did you guys go? No, I'm going to London
Tell
next
me
month.
more.
I started really. I told Adam this, but I'm now starting to watch the Premier League, and the quality of football on the Premier League compared to like the MLS it's pretty striking to see kind of how different it is. It's very, very different stylistically compared to the two. But yeah, I'm having a ton of fun with FC 25 and 24. Danny, it was a free game on PlayStation, so you probably own it.
So I do have EA Sports FC 24. It says purchased, so
yeah, you have it. So we should all play a few games and have some fun, and maybe we can do like a little Dynasty League.
The fun thing
because they have that
with these games is that it's unlike football, like American football. This one is fun to play as like a single position on a team with other people.
Oh yeah, we could all play like different positions on like the same team.
Yeah, like you can lock in as like a winger or whatever, or your goalie if you're crazy.
Oh, I forgot to bring this up in the Orlando City section. Did you guys hear about USL and them talking about adding like levels underneath the USL?
No, I did not, but that's interesting.
Yeah, USL is thinking about adding like an entire system like how the UK has it, and having like a championship, a League One, and a League Two.
So USL 1 used to be a thing. So they did have like a minor league system, but there was no promotion and relegation. So it was just like smaller markets. So like I think the Villages had a USL 1 team.
Right now the USL is considering adding a promotion and relegation system. So it would be a USL Championship, USL League 1, and USL League 2.
That's really cool. Yeah.
I don't know. So, like, take MLS, right? MLS has more teams than any other league in the world. Like, it is gigantic comparatively. And that's because the United States is very large. But it has more teams than any other league in the whole world as far as soccer is concerned. I think adding a promotion relegation system to that kind of sounds fun. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I think it would be fun. Not to sound like I'm going to be on the side of the billionaire owners. I understand why the owners don't want it. It makes perfect sense because if your team underperforms, now all of a sudden you're in a minor league, and if fans stop showing up, what happens to the team? I mean, what happens if a few years ago when the Magic were down bad, if the Magic were just not part of the NBA next year?
Sure.
They played in the G League.
Well, and
fans didn't come to the games, and now all of a sudden you're talking about, do we have to move this team because no one's supporting it? So I think it works in England, and I think it can work in the U.S., but I also understand from an owner's perspective why they're very no, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up for a franchise model like every other sport in America has it.
Well, and there are not that many, if any, new teams. In fact, all of the teams in something like the UK and the Premier League and League One and Championship, for the most part, a lot of those teams have a very rich history and they are very old, and the people that support those clubs have been supporting them for centuries.
Yep.
And so they don't have that kind of connection. If you build a Des Moines, Iowa Rowdies, and then suddenly they get relegated from the USL League One to USL League Two, will people keep going to Des Moines, Iowa Rowdies games?
Who knows? I think that's part of the issue, and I think it's funny that you mentioned Des Moines because I think they are getting a pro team.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the soccer is growing in this country like it's insane. I know Northwest Arkansas. I've got family that lives out there. They're getting a USL team. I mean, you have all kinds of teams popping up. And I think that's kind of why it works so well in England, because, moving clubs is very rare. This team that I support, AFC Wimbledon, they had a greedy owner come in and move the team because he wanted to build a shopping center. And he wanted to anchor that shopping center with a sporting venue. So he moved the team and renamed them to be MK Dons. And fans started their own team. They bought the name AFC Wimbledon back from the owner, started their own team, recruited players, signed players from other lower leagues, and kind of struggled for a few years. And they are now in a higher league than MK Dons was. Good. And, that's the kind of story in England, and it makes so much sense. And I see this. I'm in a lot of soccer forums where people don't understand, support for MLS is so different. How come when I am watching a game on TV, I don't see away fans? And I think the thing that they're failing to understand is how massive this country is. Outside of Miami being 3 hours, 3.5, 4 hours south, my next nearest match that I can go to is Atlanta, which is 6 hours north. Whereas, you have stadiums that are within 10 minutes of each other in England. That all have their rich histories. You could take a train. You could walk. There is between Liverpool, who is my Premier League club and has been since my family indoctrinated me into that madness when I was young, and Everton, the only thing that separates those fields, at least it used to, because Everton has a new stadium now, was a park. There was a city park that separated the two stadiums that you could walk through.
Yeah, I think something I really admire about the European football leagues is just that intense passion and the tradition. It's it's college football. It's the equivalent.
Mm-hmm. And I think we see glimpses of it in the United States in kind of our own natural way, with the U.S. Open Cup. Which is a tournament where any team can enter. So you have beer league teams, if they do well enough, could go against MLS teams. Orlando City won it a few years ago when we played a USL team in the championship, Sacramento Republic, and beat them for the U.S. Open Cup. So we get glimpses of like that pyramid and like that soccer structure. So I think USL adopting that would be really interesting. I think it would be a good thing for soccer. I completely understand why MLS owners are against it, but I think the country is big enough that both can exist.
Yeah, why not? More sports.
More sports everywhere, please. Start giving communities that don't have sports.
Yes.
Damn right.
Eduardo, did you know Puerto Rico had a USL team for a while?
I did not know that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. I think they folded a few years ago. I saw them play, I think, Orlando City when we had a USL team. They had a really cool kit, though. I remember thinking.
Puerto Rico Islanders.
The Islanders. That's right.
They're a team from Bayamon. That's where
Is that where you're from?
Yeah. That's so crazy.
Yep. No, but, it's kind of crazy everything that's happening around Orlando. Eduardo, did you have any more Magic talk to get to?
No.
Okay, well, that wraps it up for the Orlando Magic, and I think there's a lot of exciting things happening, a lot of seasons about to start up here, and the Magic are obviously in full swing. And if you want to stay up to date on all of the sports happenings around Central Florida, you want to follow us, and I'm not going to screw it up this time, I promise. You want to follow us on Blue Sky and X at CF Sportscast. Is that right? That's right. I'm getting the thumbs up from Danny. CF Sportscast. You can also email us at cfsportscast@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts about the episode, ways that we can improve it. You can also send your hate mail there. If you send it, please send it in Portuguese. That way only Danny can understand it. But thank you so much for listening. And as always, I'm Adam.
I should have looked up how to say I am Danny in Portuguese, but next time
he'll have it. Yeah, you didn't promise to be fluent by today. You said a week.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for Adam, Eduardo, and Danny in Portuguese.
All right.
I'll be next week. You will not hear a word of English out of this mouth.
He's just not going to show up to record.
That's right.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
See ya.